Beerus doesn't get introduced with some flashy speech or slow build-up. He shows us who he is right away. In one of the coldest entrances in the franchise, he casually taps a planet and splits it in half because he wasn't impressed with the species living there. That one gesture speaks volumes. The kind of skill he operates on, the effortless cruelty of his title, and just how ridiculous his destructive energy actually is. In fact, the eruptions of force he causes in distant systems are visible from Earth, which not only highlights the scope of his power, but also raises questions about just how quickly energy and light travel in Dragon Ball. Meanwhile, Goku's training takes a unique turn in the Super manga compared to the anime. Instead of just brute practice, he's shown running visual training, mentally sparring with legendary foes. In these simulations, he doesn't just win, he embarrasses his opponent. Frieza drops to a single hand tap and Perfect Cell is torn apart by one casual punch. Goku even toys with Kid Buu for a bit until the exercise cuts off, denying us a chance to see him fight Kid Buu. In this imagined scenario, still, Kid Buu's expression as Goku rushes him in base Super Saiyan is telling. He looks ready, confident even, which makes you wonder how far Goku had gone if the training had continued. But Dragon Ball Super doesn't just give us gods and mental battles, it throws some bizarre curveballs. Super also slips in some anime-only nods. Gregory, the little cricket from filler episodes on King Kai's planet, actually pops back up. Even more curious, there's footage of Vegeta training in Dragon Ball Kai included as a flashback, which blurs the lines between what's canon to Super and what's anime exclusive. Super being a continuation of the original manga. Character statements in this stretch are also important. Vegeta outright acknowledges Goku as the top Saiyan following the defeat of Buu, cementing by at that point Goku had surpassed not only Vegeta himself, but also Gotenks and even Ultimate Gohan. This is reinforced in both the Battle of Gods film and the manga, where Gohan is still hinted to have his mystic state, though the anime leaves things a little more vague. And as all this unfolds, Beerus is mostly occupied with food. There's a scene where Whis goes to the outer star system to grab him something to eat, and Beerus casually follows. The casual nature of a god of destruction moving between star systems for a snack says everything about just how far beyond mortal comprehension he really is. When Whis zips off to fetch Beerus some food, the timeline of events tells us a lot more than you'd think at first glance. His staff carries him across vast stretches of space in under a minute. Considering the stick can apparently cover the whole universe in about 20 minutes, this means that this quick trip was likely across countless galaxies, millions of light years gone in moments. Yet Beerus himself grows impatient, following after Whis, and manages to catch up to him in barely 2 minutes. If Whis' speed scales to all the characters around him, and the show constantly implies that it does, then Beerus had to move at speeds way beyond simple light travel to even make that chase possible. Later, when Goku reaches Super Saiyan God, Beerus admits he hadn't been forced to exert himself this much in eons, which strongly suggests Goku could match feats on his level 2 at least in short bursts. Jumping over to Goku's training, episode 3 drops some wild strength physics. He fires a Kamehameha directly at himself, catches it, and then overpowers his own attack, which sounds absurd until you realize Ki blasts in Dragon Ball are often output stronger than the user's raw power, meaning Goku's literal training by fighting something stronger than himself and forcing his body to adapt to it. It's not only creative, it doubles as a durability flex, showing how he can survive punishment from beings above his level. Once Beerus finally lands on King Kai's tiny world, King Kai tries to warn Goku that he's dealing with something way out of his league. Supposedly, Beerus could sneeze and launch him across the universe. Goku half believes him, but still, he squares up anyway, starting with Super Saiyan. In the manga version, he's shocked when Beerus casually bats his form aside, which implies Goku already considers Super Saiyan to be at least near Kid Buu's level by this point. The fact that Beerus swats it effortlessly reinforces just how wide the gap really is. The anime layers in some interesting nuance too. When Beerus sees Goku's bulked up grade 4 Super Saiyan, he shrugs it off as a slight power up. But when Super Saiyan 2 enters the picture, Beerus actually seems more interested. A hint that the multiplier from Super Saiyan and Super Saiyan 2 to Super Saiyan 3 aren't as clean cut as fans sometimes assume, especially since Beerus himself never reacts to the base to Super Saiyan jump with the same kind of awe. And then during the fight, we get a flicker, literally of the future. Goku's body begins dodging strikes without him consciously reacting, which Beerus immediately notices. It's an early stage of Ultra Instinct, though neither Goku nor Beerus has the vocabulary for it yet. Beerus even wonders if Goku is some hidden genius, though in reality it's the years of training finally compounding towards something bigger. Of course, none of it's enough. Super Saiyan 3 Goku punches straight through King Kai's planet, a world 10 times Earth's mass and density, yet Beerus treats the whole encounter as a joke. He doesn't even bother with the signature planet tap destruction, instead he toys with him with chops and flicks. And honestly, that moment where he flicks Super Saiyan 3 Goku away like it's nothing. One strange detail worth pointing out, no one on Earth feels this clash at all. Compare that to Busaga Goku, whose fight with Fat Buu was sensed even in the Kaioshin realm, which might suggest that King Kai's planet isn't where people think it is. It's possibly further away than the sacred world of the Kais. After the humiliation, Goku takes a moment to strategize. His first thought is his fusion with Vegeta, but in his own head he immediately dismisses the idea, saying that even Vegeta wouldn't cut it against Beerus. Beerus. And looking at how things play out later, that might have been one of Goku's rare moments of absolute clarity. When Beerus finally steps foot on Earth, the search for the so-called Super Saiyan God takes center stage. The manga breezes through this with a quick showcase of Beerus dismantling the Z-Fighters. The anime, however, paints a far more dramatic picture. One of the standout moments is when Beerus casually releases a pressure so overwhelming that Vegeta can't even twitch under it. From there, Beerus toys with everyone: Piccolo, Gohan, Gotenks, and Buu. Then comes Super Saiyan 2 Vegeta, whose power is said to outdo Super Saiyan 3 Goku's, and yet Beerus shrugs off the prince's full fury. At one point, Beerus even tosses out a 10% comment, but later we learn from Whis and Beerus himself that this was all a ruse, a psychological trick to motivate the Saiyans to push harder. There's even an odd detail buried in the anime version. Piccolo looks more disturbed watching Gotenks get floored and based than when Buu was casually smacked down. And since then they could track Buu's strikes in slow motion, the fact that Gotenks is handled with less effort raises some eyebrow-raising questions about the power scaling. Still, the main takeaway is that Goku sees no viable path forward. Vegeta wouldn't cut it, a Spirit Bomb wouldn't do the job either. The only card left is the God Ritual. Once Goku completes the transformation, everything changes. His ki vanishes from normal detection, forcing Whis to compare it directly to definitive signatures like Beerus and the gods. The ritual itself has dramatic planetary effects in the anime, changing the seasons across Earth in a single moment. When Goku tries to spar with his new form, it stumbles and struggles to balance the surge of divine energy. Toriyama himself explained in interviews that God Ki is volatile at first, too much power to control properly, and without experience, you end up clumsy or accidentally destructive. That loss of control foreshadows what comes next. Goku and Beerus punching so hard that the entire macrocosm in Universe 7 trembles on the very collapse. And this macrocosm isn't just a universe. Supplemental gods describe it as layers of massive domains: the mortal universe, the afterlife, and the Kaioshin realm. The afterlife alone contains a heaven equal in size to the living universe, orbited by Grand Kai's planet, plus an endless hell capable of holding infinite souls. The Kai realm itself is said to be 1/10 of the whole macrocosm, while Daizenshuu material sometimes called the other world endless or dimensionally transcendent. Some fans interpret that as a literal higher dimensional scaling, while others argue the words are more figurative, meant to emphasize a normality rather than the strict mathematics. Either way, the point stands out. Goku and Beerus were about to reduce this entire structure to nothing just by colliding fists. The anime and manga differ on the presentation though. In the manga, the destructive waves appear instantly. In the anime, the waves spread outward slowly, consuming space as they expand. And the anime tosses in an even stranger beat. When Beerus seems to land a killing blow, Goku's body pulls a near regenerative comeback, returning stronger than ever before. Whis knows that this is the most effort Beerus has expended in centuries, underscoring just how high Goku's ceiling has risen. But the wildest twist comes after the red aura vanishes. Instead of collapsing, Goku keeps fighting in Super Saiyan and realizes he doesn't feel much weaker. Beerus explains why the God power didn't vanish, it fused into Goku's own body and ki. From that point on, his base and Super Saiyan state carry the essence of godhood. The narrator even drives the point home in episode titles and commentary. Goku has surpassed the ritual Super Saiyan God without needing the form itself. It climaxes when Beerus launches a death ball that overwhelms Goku Super Saiyan. Yet moments later, Goku in his base digs deep and pushes back against the same attack. By extension, his natural state now eclipses not only Super Vegeta from the Buu saga, but even the ritual God form itself, the one that nearly cracked the universe apart. You could argue it's some hidden instinct or flare-up, but at bare minimum, Goku's scaling from this point forward is firmly anchored on God-tier footing. 6 months later, the timeline moves into what fans call the resurrection of F arc. Goku shows up begging Whis for more training, wanting to dive deeper into God-tier strength. Something worth noting is that Whis doesn't actually request food as payment for lessons, despite the Grand Peace joking that Whis' appetite is his real motive. Instead, Whis is genuinely shaping these Saiyans for the long run. And by this point, Vegeta's half year of tutelage has arguably pushed ahead of him, and that's pretty wild. That's wild considering that even a casual Super Saiyan Goku could erase the entire Dragon Ball Z cast with minimal effort, possibly even in base form depending on how you interpret his scaling. There's also a strange little anti-feat worth cataloging. Whis gets tapped by a teleportation time bomb. If someone that far above Ultra Instinct Goku can be caught slipping, then the same trick would probably hit Goku as well, even in his perfected Ultra Instinct state. It shows that not even the angels are truly untouchable. As training intensifies, Whis explains that gulf between Beerus and the Saiyans uses striking metaphor. Goku and Vegeta, even in their godlike evolution, are compared to tiny saplings, while Beerus is likened to an entire massive palace. And since even these saplings can unleash punches capable of rattling the universe, the imagery tells you how absurdly stacked Beerus must be in contrast. What's crazier? Whis isn't even exaggerating. Later storylines back up that comparison, and it paints Beerus as an overwhelming benchmark the heroes still haven't cracked. Whis also breaks down their stylistic flaws. Goku is naturally suited for the flow of Ultra Instinct since he fights best when his body moves on its own. But that freedom also makes him sloppy. He lets his guard down, something Vegeta once exploited during the Majin era battle. Vegeta, on the other hand, has the opposite problem. He rarely fights at full efficiency, straining too much instead of letting his body synchronize like Goku does. The difference carries into later arcs, and Goku leans into instinct while Vegeta branches into alternate paths like spirit control. The Yard Rat training in the manga specifically addresses Vegeta's weaknesses, whereas Goku seems to be dabbling with his body-mind balance since the Buu saga, when we saw him meditating as seriously as he trained. Whis eventually tasked Goku and Vegeta with sparring while compressing all of their energy inside their bodies, hiding their signatures. It's their first practical lesson in controlling divine power, wrestling with the idea that to reach a god's tier, you don't just radiate strength, you contain it perfectly. That training becomes the foundation for their leaps forward in the coming arcs. After his resurrection, Frieza does something he's never seriously attempted before. He trains. For 4 straight months, he pushes himself, which already shatters the image of him as a prodigy who relied purely on natural talent. Some people argue that maybe King Cold or even Frieza's mother might have put him through the same sort of discipline when he was younger, but the story seems clear. This was his first true grind. Meanwhile, the Earth side of things gives us an unexpected character note. Android 18 casually reminds Krillin once again that she's still stronger than him and by extension, a lot of the fighters around. This line serves as foreshadowing, suggesting she's still more dangerous than people tend to give her credit for post-Buu saga. Krillin himself gets a fascinating bit of lore too. Because he's been around Goku and the others during their wild reality-breaking battles, his perception and time reaction have leveled up far beyond what they should be. This idea isn't just headcanon either. It pops up again later in the Tournament of Power, where even Vegeta seems to harden his instincts simply by watching Jiren fight. It's a subtle but important concept. In Dragon Ball, just observing can push your limits, and that applies to Goku as well. On the villain side, we meet Tagoma, who spends those same 4 months as Frieza's personal punching bag. By the time the Frieza Force returns, Gohan estimates Tagoma has reached a strength comparable to his own at his current peak. The key here is that Gohan's peak isn't Ultimate Gohan. It's his base after years of neglect. Even then, his base is no joke thanks to his Z-Sword training. His fundamentals were massively enhanced beyond normal Saiyan standards. When he finally transforms into a Super Saiyan, he wipes Tagoma out without trouble. But then things get weird. Out of nowhere, Gotenks shows up and headbutts Tagoma hard enough to leave damage. Except this version of Gotenks is a shell of his former self. Ever since young son Goku and his friends returned, it's been implied that Goten and Trunks have gotten rusty, and here they might be rustier than ever. In the Buu saga, they could fly around the planet multiple times and nap while fused. Now they burn 30 minutes of time just getting into the fight, and the fusion instantly fails apart under a single attack. That decline in quality makes Tagoma taking their hit more reasonable and reinforces that Gohan's base equals ultimate theory. Then comes one of the strangest twists. Captain Ginyu reappears, hijacking Tagoma's body. Suddenly, this once beaten grunt is moving and fighting on a completely different level. This ties back to the theme of potential and how someone with refined spirit or ki control can manipulate their strength beyond the surface level. The real terror comes though when Frieza steps onto the battlefield. Even in his first form, he casually blasts Piccolo and brutalizes Super Saiyan Gohan, showing power that looks godlike compared to his old self. Just think about that. His first form here is already way past characters like Piccolo and Gotenks, both whom have had relevance in the Buu era. To put it into perspective, based on Namek, the jump between Frieza's first form at 530,000 and his final form at 120 million was over 200 times. Those were official god numbers, and if that kind of scaling still applies, then even lowballing, this puts Resurrection Frieza at Cell Game's ending strength before he's even warmed up. And remember, this is all before transformations. Base Goku at this point is arguably beyond the Buu saga entirely, especially in the anime continuity, where the divine energy from the Super Saiyan God became a part of his natural ki. This means that when he steps up against Frieza, we're looking at a clash operating at a completely new tier of Dragon Ball power scaling. There's even a note that Goku and Vegeta train in a specialized chamber with Whis, similar to the hyperbolic time chamber, though the actual duration isn't clear. Regardless, by this point, both Saiyans are leagues above where Z ever left them. When Frieza finally unleashes his true form during Resurrection F, the sheer force of his transformation is enough to vaporize his own army on the spot. That one moment illustrates just how absurd the gap is between him and even the most loyal troops. And keep in mind, these soldiers weren't completely worthless. Earth's fighters actually struggled a bit holding them off. Now, this leads into one of Dragon Ball's strangest debates, the Saiyan Beyond God concept. Some fans insist that Goku had 2 types of base forms after Battle of Gods, his standard base and a God-infused base state that draws from the ritual. This theory explains why Goku can sometimes look untouchable against God-tier threats, yet occasionally struggle with fighters who narratively he should obliterate. The manga even shows Goku channeling godly strength through his base when sparring with Whis, though Whis treats it as child's play. Others argue the whole idea was quietly retconned, especially since later arcs never mentioned. To complicate things further, promotional material and spin-off games like Dragon Ball Heroes outright classified Saiyan Beyond God as its own transformation, but then abandoned it entirely. Whenever you see it as canon or not depends on how you want to patch the continuity. During Goku and Frieza's clash, Gohan and Krillin lose track of the fight entirely. Their eyes can't even follow the movements. That might sound similar since back in the Buu arc, even characters way weaker than Gohan could still perceive insane battles like Gotenks vs Super Blue. So the fact that Gohan, who at this point is far stronger than Piccolo was back then, can't see anything happening really shows how far beyond Z-level fighters are operating now. This is why the old Cell Games comparisons just don't hold water. Even with extreme downplay, you'd have to ignore an ocean of evidence to pretend Goku and Frieza are hundreds of times stronger than that era. Eventually, the battle escalates into a duel in new forms. Goku reveals his evolution into Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan, while Frieza unveils his golden state. Now let's circle back to the revival of that fight. Tien, who is usually portrayed as one of the more level-headed and cautious Z-fighters, outright says that Frieza's energy can't be measured. That kind of statement tends to fly under the radar because fans are used to hyperbole in Dragon Ball, but in that case, it's supposedly by official material. On Toei's own Resurrection Net promotional site, there's a description stating that Goku's title as strongest in Earth might be finally threatened because Frieza's new strength is described as infinitely higher than when the two clashed on Namek. Infinitely can of course be interpreted in two ways. Either literally, if you're in the camp that believes God Goku is already tapping into universal levels of power, or figuratively, as incomparably greater. Either way, it makes the matchup far more dangerous than just another rematch. Even Goku himself senses that Frieza has the upper hand at the start. He admits that the battle could go either way, but as it plays out, the Golden Tyrant is revealed to have the same fatal flaw he did decades ago. Just like on Namek, Frieza's transformation is too unstable to maintain, while Goku's discipline allows him to fight longer. In the anime adaptation, there's even a countdown mechanic added for dramatic tension. Things escalate when a desperate Frieza, exhausted and cornered, slams his hand into the ground and annihilates Earth. What's terrifying is that he pulls this off in his base state while heavily drained, making him only the second villain in the series after Kid Buu to destroy the planet, and the fallout is pretty messy. Beerus and Whis immediately imply Vegeta was killed in the blast, and no one senses his energy lingering afterward. The silence fuels debates even today. Some fans argue Vegeta was vaporized, but that's inconsistent with how durable Saiyan bodies have been shown to be. Otherwise, you'd be forced to admit that Namek Saga Frieza was tougher than a god-powered Super Saiyan decades later. The more plausible explanations are suffocation in space, or simply that his key signature couldn't be picked up in the aftermath. Regardless, Whis rewinds time, undoing the catastrophe. This allows Goku to step in, obliterate Frieza with a single blue-powered attack, and end the arc before the Earth is lost for good. When the Universe 6 tournament kicks off, the manga offers a slightly more grounded and tactical lens than its anime counterpart, especially when it comes to the dynamics between Goku and Vegeta. Early on, we get a scene where the two spar intensely, and it's here that Goku shows off his cerebral side. Rather than relying purely on brute strength, he throws subtle feints and misdirection that throw Vegeta off his rhythm, giving Goku a noticeable edge in their exchange. Eventually, Goku pulls a clever move mid-battle, using instant transmission and fluid combat, which forces Vegeta to escalate things by transforming into Super Saiyan Blue just to keep up. What this moment subtly establishes that both, while close in raw power, Goku's battle IQ and mastery of technique often let him come ahead when it matters most. And for fans that say that Goku's never beat Vegeta, there's a clear Dragon Ball Super win in the manga. Shortly after this, the scope of the Dragon Ball universe expands quite literally. We're introduced to the existence of 12 different universes, each paired with the counterpart. Universe 7's twin is Universe 6, and the god of destruction from that realm, Champa, pays a not-so-friendly visit to Beerus. We even get a flashback of them sparring, hurling themselves through space faster than light, planets bursting from their blows, and their clash is so dangerous that it threatens cosmic annihilation. It's only the sudden intervention of their angelic attendants that prevents both universes from being reduced to nothing. In the anime, the same brawl is portrayed with even more dramatic weight. It's flat out stated that a full-powered fight between Beerus and Champa would annihilate both their universes entirely. This serves as an important benchmark. If you think Goku could eventually climb to their level later on, then you're implying he can go head-to-head with beings capable of collapsing universal realities with just their fists. But at this stage in the story, Goku's not quite there. Another little nugget worth mentioning comes from Jocko, who clarifies something that's been debated for years. The Milky Way galaxy where Earth is located is near the outer edge of Universe 7. That means that the North Galaxy that Frieza once ruled over isn't synonymous with the Milky Way at all. The distinction actually helps us understand the layout of the universe in Dragon Ball and hints that it's not infinite in the way some fans assume. If it were, no scanner, no matter how advanced, could pinpoint energy signatures at its edge. Now, over the next 3 years, both Goku and Vegeta commit to non-stop training. They sharpen their edge, push their bodies to the brink, and ultimately hit what Vegeta refers to as the upper limits of their growth. Even so, Vegeta admits during one of their spars that he can feel himself improving through the gains that are now marginal. Fast forward to the start of the tournament, and Goku's matched up against Botamo, Universe 6's bouncy golden bear of a fighter. Botamo has a bizarre ability where incoming attacks don't seem to harm him at all. Jacko speculates that the damage is being directed to some kind of alternate dimension. Pretty wild. Still, even his bizarre hacks, it suggested that Botamo's ability has a limit. Instead of overpowering him, Goku goes for something more strategic. He doesn't just try to outmuscle him, instead he uses the tournament rules to his advantage, and simply rings out Botamo. The small moment highlights a larger truth about Goku's evolution. He's not just fighting harder, he's fighting smarter. Botamo's presence in the tournament sparks some interesting conversation, though his actual strength leaves much to be desired. There's a moment where Jacko throws out a theory that Botamo might be directing all incoming damage to some alternate dimension, but based on what we actually see, that sounds more like a sci-fi speculation than a solid ability. The Saiyans don't even need to brute force their way past him, they just outmaneuver him. In fact, Goku ends up booting him out of the ring using brains more than brawn. Next up is Frost, Universe 6's twisted mirror of Frieza. From the jump, it's clear he's no slouch. Goku clashes with him on even footing while they're holding back, trading hits without going all out. But as Frost progresses into his third form, the tone shifts. Goku starts tapping into more of his strength, and Roshi himself makes a remark about how he can't even perceive what's going on anymore. That's significant, especially since Roshi didn't say the same thing about Botamo's fight, implying Frost is in another league entirely. As the battle escalates, Goku ramps things up with a Super Saiyan transformation, prompting Frost to reveal his final state. What's wild here is that Frost in his third form was already doing better than Goku in base, despite Goku having had 3 years of training since the last big Frieza showdown. That alone puts Frost ahead of where Final Form Frieza used to stand. Once Goku goes Super Saiyan though, the fight flips. Frost gets pummeled, far more decisively than how naming Frieza fared against Super Saiyan Goku way back. This could be taken in a couple different ways. Either Goku's regular Super Saiyan form has powered up significantly, think post-Cell games, but the fight doesn't end clean. Frost ends up using a hidden poison needle, a dirty trick that knocks Goku out cold. And just like that, the match is over. It's a reminder that Goku still hadn't built up any solid immunity to toxins, and can be called slipping when tricked, a consistent flaw over the years. Speaking of Vegeta, his match against Vegeta is important in terms of understanding the limits of Saiyans when deprived of oxygen. The anime narrator even points out that Vegeta can't fight at full strength in such an environment, and we've seen similar logic before, like when Golden Frieza tried to drown Super Saiyan Blue Goku in Resurrection F, so there's precedence for this kind of biological limitation. As for the Kaba fight itself, it subtly hints at how much stronger Super Saiyan has become. Even though Kaba and Vegeta seem comparable in base, the moment Vegeta transforms, Kaba's attacks just bounce right off. The difference is especially highlighted in the anime, whereas in the manga, Vegeta opts to dominate Kaba in Blue almost immediately. All that builds into what might be one of the sharpest examples of Goku's growth as a fighter throughout the entire arc. Next up is Goku's showdown with the Silent Executioner from Universe 6. Hit. This guy's not just a seasoned assassin, he's been around for over a millennium, mastering an ability that borders on temporal manipulation. His signature move allows him to skip through time in short bursts, giving him a decisive edge against most opponents. But even with this absurd technique, Goku does something wild. He adjusts to it mid-fight. He starts off in base form, and within minutes he's reading Hit's movements and countering them like he's fought him 1,000 times. He even lands a blow that makes Hit bleed. Not bad for a guy who started the match without transforming. Now people often debate whether Hit was holding back, and maybe he was, but it doesn't really change what makes this moment so significant. Goku's adaptability. Just from watching Hit by Vegeta, Goku processes his opponent's patterns and uses sheer battle intuition to catch up. It's a rare feat even among top tier fighters. The anime makes it clear that transforming into Super Saiyan Blue comes with a massive energy cost. Goku avoids it early in the fight to conserve stamina, while Vegeta goes blue right out of the gate. In the manga though, it's taken even further. Vegeta using blue against Kaba and Hit reduces his power to just 10% of its original level. Because of this, Super Saiyan God Goku actually comes off as stronger than Blue Vegeta in that particular scenario, which hints in the manga that Blue at this stage might just be a tenfold boost over God. In contrast, the anime downplays those strict limitations. There, Blue is a redefined calm transformation with perfect ki control, which makes sense considering Goku stacked Kaioken on top of it. The fight becomes so intense when he does so that even Beerus is taken back, not necessarily by his strength, but by the fact that Goku never showed this trump card during their battle. A lot of fans at the time speculated that Goku might have surpassed Beerus with this new combo. The math seemed to work on paper, but God Ki stacked with Kaioken is not exactly how that will. We learn later on, however, that this is just not the case. Now, let's talk about Hit's ability again because this part gets messy. The anime plays it a little fast and loose with how Hit's power functions. Sometimes it's skipping time and sometimes it's freezing it, depending on who's talking. At one point, Whis mentions that Hit stores time, while elsewhere it's stated that he jumps forward 0.1 seconds. The rule shifts around a bit, but here's where the theory crafting gets interesting. If Goku is able to move while time is frozen, it suggests some truly ridiculous speed feats. The speed formula is distance divided by time, so if time equals 0 and Goku is still moving, that's either immeasurable or infinite speed, depending on how much you want to argue. Another interpretation is that Hit's ability only works on targets weaker than himself, which would mean Goku isn't necessarily breaking time, but simply outmuscling a guy who can usually bend it. Honestly, the manga keeps it more grounded. Hit's technique doesn't work on beings above a certain threshold, and Goku breaks through it with sheer force. But in the anime, you could reasonably argue Goku's speed borders on reality bending. Before we dive into the Goku Black Saga, a few anime-only episodes sprinkle in some key moments that fans often overlook. But the key takeaway from this arc is clear. Goku doesn't just evolve through power-ups, he evolves through experience, intuition, and the uncanny ability to learn while he fights. Before the next big saga kicks off, the anime takes a detour into some humorous and surprisingly insightful filler. One standout moment comes from when Goku obsesses over testing his strength against Monaka, the supposed powerhouse Beerus claimed rivaled even himself. And the twist is that Monaka is all hype. To keep this ruse going, Beerus begrudgingly cosplays as Monaka and throws hands with Goku. Despite the clunky costume, Beerus shows off ridiculous feats, blitzing through a solar flare like it was nothing, and reacting to light as if it was moving in slow motion. And what's crazy is that this isn't some high-octane Super Saiyan clash. This is base form Goku we're talking about. Yet, even in that state, Goku pushes Beerus enough to make him enjoy the fight. And that says a lot, especially when you consider Goku's higher forms didn't amuse Beerus at all during Battle of Gods. Not Gohan, not Buu, not Gotenks, and not even Super Saiyan 3 Goku got that kind of acknowledgement. Later, in episode 43, there's a bit of a fun world building where Goku starts suffering from the side effects of spamming Kaioken Blue. This odd condition, dubbed later Let Onset Ki Control Syndrome, scrambles his energy flow and makes him struggle to regulate his power. It's implied that this condition came from not just the Kaioken, but also his obsessive attempts at pushing the edge of Ultra Instinct-like predictive movement. Sadly, this cool little detail will be forgotten in future anime projects, but it adds a neat layer to Goku's limitations. Then the anime jumps into the Copy Vegeta arc, which introduces a bizarre alien substance that duplicates fighters with alarming precision. The resulting doppelganger, Copy Vegeta, is no joke. He slaps around Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks like a toy and eventually squares off against Goku in a no-holds-barred brawl. Goku uses Super Saiyan Blue for this fight, indirectly confirming Copy Vegeta is a serious threat. Now here's where things get spicy. The anime seems to double down on the idea that base form Saiyans, especially Goku and Vegeta, are ridiculously strong. This isn't something that gets retconned later, contrary to what some fans argue. It's just baked into the anime's interpretation of their growth. Even when not transformed, their base power is leagues above where it used to be. The manga leans more into transformations for dramatic boosts, but the anime seems content letting their fundamentals carry the weight. In terms of battle IQ, Goku continues to edge out Vegeta subtly. From the way he feints and finesses during their spars to the way he handles opponents like Copy Vegeta, there's always a sense that Goku just gets the flow of combat better. Both of them admit they've grown a lot since their last big fight, but Goku's precision and tactics shine just a little brighter.